and welcome back into another episode of the Bet on Me podcast. It is Friday, July 22nd, 2022. Guys, we got a big show planned for you today. First, we're going to talk about the pick we had the other day between the Rangers and the Marlins. We had the under of 7 and it went to 8. I mean, that's not that, if it's going to go, if I'm going to lose a bet, I'm okay with losing a bet if I'm not off by much. But, if it would have been, like a 20-point game or something like that, I would have felt terrible. But I'm okay with that, guys. As always, you can check out all my picks over on the CapperTech website. The link is down below in the description now on every pick that I'm throwing out over there on CapperTech. I am putting out a detailed pick write-up to explain myself behind that pick. I always share all this over on the social media at Bet On Me Pod, over on the Instagram at the Bet On Me Podcast. And as always on the YouTube channel, guys, make sure you like, subscribe, follow on all the social media. That way you can get everything that we're throwing out there. Don't forget to go over to CapperTech and check out our picks and our write-ups every day. Even today, you need to head over there and check out our picks. That's where you're going to get them today, and you're going to get those detailed write-ups down below in the description, guys. You click that link, head over to CapperTech. CapperTech, they have all the tools, the game simulator, the betting trends, the trend finder, the game caps instance. They have links to betting podcasts. They have a directory and a leaderboard set up. That way, all these people on here, there's 8,000 people in the directory you can find. All these people are on the leaderboard, good or bad. That way you can go through and you can see who it is you want to follow and who it is you don't want to follow, and maybe even buy some picks while you're there, guys. And if you want to sign up to be a capper, you can always sign up as a capper. It's absolutely free. If you want to sign up as just a customer, a member, and get in there and buy some picks and use picks and use all these free tools. Every single tool in this site is free. The only thing that you will pay for is someone's picks if you want to. And you don't even have to do that. You can use everything else absolutely free. You sign up absolutely free. The link is down below in the description, guys. Head over there, check out my picks, read those write-ups, and use these tools. Game Simulator, Betting Trends, Trend Finder. All day long, guys. So, that being said, today on the show, we've got a bit of a long one. Usually the show only runs about 20 minutes or so, but today we had a conversation last night with Quacky Takes, at Quacky Takes with Tommy on TikTok and on Instagram, or I'm sorry, Twitter. He's on Twitter at Quacky Takes with Tommy, on Twitter at Quacky Takes with Tommy. And we'll get all that here in just a minute, but just wanted to set it up for you guys. Had this conversation with him last night, talking about some picks, talking about some baseball. And yeah, a very interesting conversation. Very good guy. Can't wait to have him back on the podcast. We had conversations outside of the podcast, before and after we got on, and exchanged a few texts the day before. And let me tell you, this guy is a solid cat. I really like Tommy. I really think he knows what he's talking about when it comes to baseball. He's been hot. He's been on a heater right now. So let's go ahead and check out that interview, guys. All right, everybody. We are back here with Quacky Takes with Tommy on TikTok. Tommy, how you doing?
Good, Danny. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to have you on. Been looking forward to this. We are back on the other side of the MLB All-Star break, and we've got some games coming on today. And sir, you are way hotter than I am right now on this, so I'm just going to turn it over to you. And what do you think? What do you see going on tomorrow? What are some of your favorites?
Yeah, it's good to have the games back again. It's so funny these 3 days. I mean, we had the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby, but it's the 2 days around the All-Star game is where there's no major sport, U.S. sports. So, I know people have been going crazy.
People are betting on the color of the car driving by their house,
Yeah. But so it's good to be back finally. It's funny how those 3 days seem so much longer. But yeah, looking at the slate today was a little boring. I was fortunate to hit my Rangers pick earlier today that I posted. But I've got a couple games on my radar already. I'm not 100% sure what I like. At least, for those who might not know, I do daily picks on Twitter and TikTok. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to go with yet. But hey, maybe through our discussion, I'll decide before we close here today. Um, so one game that the first game that caught my eye is the Yankees at Orioles. Now, Yankees are minus 165 in Baltimore, and let me start by saying I really love this Orioles team. I think they are incredibly underrated. Now, since they've won, I think 10 of 12 now, they had that 10-game win streak, or maybe it was 11 of 13. I can't remember off the top of my head, but either way, they've been hot, and people are starting to catch on. Now, last week, I actually found a good futures bet on them that I did take. It was Orioles to make the playoffs 13-1. And I thought the odds there were really, I think there's a ton of value there. They're only 3.5 games out of the wild card right now. And keep in mind too, this is the 16 playoff format too. So that makes, that play, that much easier now that there's an extra spot. But this team is really solid, this Orioles team. And I think because they've been perennial basement dwellers for maybe the last 5 years, give or take, a lot of the casual fans and casual sports bettors, it's easy to kind of play off, your idea of them. They've been the Detroit Lions of MLB for a little while, so they're not very good, and
Yeah.
so people don't believe it. But I'll tell you what, I really think this lineup is on paper they've got so many good pieces: Mullins, Santander, Mancini, Hayes, Mountcastle. They've got a great pitcher in Tyler and Wells, who's going to be on the mound tomorrow against the Yankees. I mean, their pitching could use a little bit more consistency, but I mean, I really think that they're heading in the right direction. Now, the only caveat I'd say, the word of caution that I'd put out there to anybody that might be interested in taking that, that futures that I just mentioned, is that the Orioles' second half schedule is tough. They're playing, they play in arguably, what I think is, and arguably the toughest division in baseball. I mean, the Yankees are obviously a juggernaut. I think they have 2 series with the Astros in the second half. So they're going to, and then of course they're going to have the Rays, Blue Jays, and Red Sox, which are never going to be easy division games. So they do have a tough schedule coming up. So that's, maybe the only caveat to this play, but the value is definitely there at 13-1. I think since it's come off the board, I don't see it on there anymore. So it might pop up. If anyone's interested in taking it, just keep your eyes peeled. It's kind of been popping on and off. But I actually read this article recently, and actually it was just yesterday, about how Vegas is like maybe standing to lose some substantial money because they were such long odds. People were taking them. There was an article on ESPN.com that I read. I thought that was interesting. But I really like this team, and and even if they don't make the playoffs this year, I think if they can keep their core pieces together, they could be dangerous. I think they're going to turn some heads in the next couple seasons, and maybe hopefully this season so my play comes through. But this is an interesting line. Yankees minus 165. I guess that's probably about right, with Wells on the mound in Baltimore. This is all going to depend. I'm going to tune in tomorrow. I use scoresandodds.com to check to see where the money's going. So I'm not really deciding on it yet, but if the public is crushing the Yankees tomorrow, I like the Orioles, but at the same time, I'm not sure where the public sentiment's going to be. Now that people are kind of, are aware of, what the Orioles have been doing, I could see the public being on the Orioles tomorrow too. So pretty much on that one, on that game, we'll see where the money's going tomorrow, and it's on my radar though for sure. And I think and really the Yankees. The All-Star break came probably at a good time for them. I think they lost 2 out of 3 to the Reds at home right before the All-Star break, which was just pretty tough. So maybe they're in a little bit of a downswing right now too. But we'll see where the money's going tomorrow before I make a pick on that game. What do you think of either of those teams?
Well, I really like the Orioles. They surprise me. They win in spots that I don't think they're going to win. And I'll just say this: anytime I bet against them this year, they've made me look stupid. So yeah, and the Yankees are definitely a team that I think is going to be there at the end of it. But let me ask you about this. This is a team that I've had on my radar, and I want to get your opinion on it. What is it? The New York, is it the Mets? Yeah, the New York Mets. What do you think about them?
That's the team. I haven't taken them on my picks yet.
They're looking pretty good this year.
Yeah, they
That's
definitely.
they're at plus 700 to win it all. So
I think that's pretty good value. There, that's not too bad. I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe just seeing it passing, that might have gone up. So, they have Scherzer, who's obviously.
here, I can take a look at that right now to see if it's moved up.
Yeah, I honestly, that's a team I don't know a whole lot about. But to kind of add another point to this, I saw on, I don't know if DraftKings is available like for sports betting in Tennessee, but
It is.
they have this like this futures play. It's like the state, like what will be the state of the winning team, and like New York is one. So like any team that resides in that state. So like if you think the winner of the World Series is going to be from New York, if the Mets or Yankees do it, then then you hit the play.
Definitely have to look into that. Yeah, you're right. The New York Mets are now up to plus 800 to win the World Series. Yeah.
Okay.
So
but yeah, I'd like to see. I never really gave that future too much thought. But with both teams doing pretty well.
I just know I've seen them beat good teams. Pretty sure they beat the Astros a couple times.
Yeah, they're not a team that I know a whole lot about, admittedly. I kind of just go day by day, and as I've been starting this page, I'm a month into doing this page. I'm getting to know all the teams pretty well, rather well, I'd say. Little by little, and the Mets just happen to be one that I don't know a whole lot about. Expectations are high. I mean, they definitely have a shot to win the World Series, barring any catastrophic injuries. But there's still a whole lot of season to go. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely solid. Yeah, but the Brewers are another team. They definitely have a good shot to win that division. Really, as things stand now, at least their only competition in that division is the Cardinals, and Cardinals have kind of been, a little touch and go lately. I mean, they've had their moments, and I mean, I've bet them, or I've taken them as my pick twice. Sometimes they look really good. There are two times. One time they hit. They were up. It was just last week or 2 weeks ago, I believe. They were up 6-0 at home against the Dodgers. I took them at plus 1.5, and the Dodgers came back and won 7-6. So fortunately, I was glad I took the plus 1.5 because we needed every bit of it. But they're kind of weird. Like their bullpen seems, at least in my experience, because in both the games that I picked them, their bullpen blew it. I took the money line. They were an underdog at home against the Marlins and Alcantara, and they were winning 3-2 with 2 outs in the ninth, and then they gave up a 2-run home run, and they lost 4-3. So they seems like I know that's a small sample size, but it seems like their bullpen needs a little help. And really, outside of Goldschmidt and Arenado, I mean, I'm not, I don't have the stats in front of me, but just watching them, they played a couple series against the Phillies. I live in the Philly area, and I follow the Phillies close, more closer than any other team. But it just seemed like, other than those two, there wasn't a lot of support in that batting order. But again, I haven't followed them that closely outside of the times I've taken them. But they could give them a run. Like I said, there's still a lot of season to play. But the Brewers aren't a team that they're the division leader right now, but there's nothing about them that really wows me. Now they've got Burns; he's a solid pitcher. But some of their pieces I think are maybe a little bit overrated. But I don't want to get into it too. I wouldn't. Brewers aren't a team that I would take to win the NL or to win the World Series or anything like that. To win the division, I think is fair, but I don't want to get too much into it since I'm not too knowledgeable on that team.
Well, it's funny we're talking about the Brewers because they actually own the small market team down in Chattanooga, the Lookouts.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, the Brewers. So they, I don't know if they've ever called anyone up from down there, but I know that's where they would grab somebody if they wanted to down here in Tennessee, which is crazy because Milwaukee's all the way up there and Tennessee down here. But I don't know how all that works. I know the Cardinals. It looks like the Cardinals and the Brewers are pretty much the same. Both with 50 wins, Brewers with 43 losses, St. Louis Cardinals with 44. So basically the same team. The Mets,
it's going to be between those two for the NL Central there.
Yeah, the Mets are just above Atlanta. I don't think Atlanta's going to go back this year. I don't think You know,
Well,
I don't is there a such thing as a World Series hangover? I know you have a Super Bowl hangover.
yeah, I mean, I think that
Obviously, it doesn't matter in the NHL because the Tampa Bay Lightning just keep trying to go back and win it. So
yeah, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's definitely teams, and talking about the NHL, there's definitely teams that have done it. I mean, in the late '70s, the Islanders won 4 straight, and then there's great Oilers teams with Gretzky and Messier in the '80s, won many cups.
well,
But
see,
hockey,
I'm not as knowledgeable at baseball. Is that something that happens a lot in baseball?
I mean, there's definitely teams. I mean, the Yankees, they won. Let's see, they won in '96, '98. 99, and yeah, they three-peated. So they won 4 out of they won 96. They beat the Braves in 6 games in 96. They swept the Padres in 98. They beat they swept the Braves in 99, and then they won in 5 games against the Mets in 2000. That was a Subway Series. But then they lost. They went back in 2001 and lost to the Diamondbacks in Game 7. I'll never forget watching that game. Actually, Mario Rivera. I remember I was a kid. I think I was in ninth grade. I was in ninth grade. I'm pretty sure. And they were saying, "Oh, he never blew a save." And obviously, Rivera is a pitcher I have so much respect for. One of my favorites, and obviously one of the greatest to ever do it. But I remember as a ninth grade kid, I was like, I have a feeling that he might, because the announcers were going on about, oh, he's never blown a save in the playoffs, or it was something adjacent to that. I was like, I think he might. And then they had the infield in, and Luis Gonzalez hit that little bloop single just over the shortstop. And yeah, I think it was Craig Counsell that scored the winning runs. And speaking of the Brewers, he's the manager of the Brewers now. So it's that was
Funny
a
how that
great
all
series.
ties in.
That was a really great series. But and actually, I don't think the Diamondbacks have won a playoff series since then. So
They're not very good this year.
yeah. They're an interesting team this year. I think they're slightly underrated, but you never know what you're going to get with them.
No, you definitely don't.
Yeah, I've taken them a couple times this year, and both times they've come through. They're I'm not going to say they're a good team, but I think they're a little bit better than people think. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs or anything, barring some sort of next to miraculous run, but they're not terrible. Like, I kind of wonder what the public. I have a buddy actually. He's like, why do you keep taking? I took him twice, both for my daily pick, and they hit both times. He's like, why do you take all these garbage teams? He's like, I can't believe these garbage teams come through. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, he thinks they're garbage, and I wonder if, and again, like, I don't think they're good, or I mean, maybe they're good. They're definitely not great, or they're not lighting the world on fire or anything like that. But I was kind of intrigued that he said he thought they were garbage. I think they're a little bit better than people think this year.
I mean,
Again,
they're out there in the West with the Dodgers, the Giants, the Padres. I mean, that's not a bad.
Yeah, that's a very tough division.
Yeah, you're playing against some elite teams there. So,
Mm-hmm.
in the Dodgers anyway. I don't think San Francisco's that bad of a team. I think they're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, they are.
I didn't
They're
realize the
definitely.
Padres are sitting where they are.
Yeah, they're definitely good. Yeah, that's. I was saying the AL East is maybe the toughest division. You could definitely make an argument for the NL West too, no doubt about it. The Giants are an interesting team this year. They won. I think they won 101 games last year. They won over 100. They're really, that was a great series against the Dodgers in the first round. The Dodgers beat them. But this year, at least, in the last month, since I've really been, doing my picks and my channel and everything, and paying attention to them, they really struggle to score runs sometimes. I actually took, speaking of both those two teams, the Giants and the Diamondbacks, on July 4th. The Giants had lost 6 out of their last 8 games. They lost 2 out of 3 at home to the Reds, and they were a minus 190 favorite on the road against the Diamondbacks. Like, I don't think so. You don't. That's kind of what I do. Like when I do my picks, I look for spots like that, and where there's the most, what I think is value. I mean, when a team's playing like that, I mean, and they are by reputation, a team that's good, maybe even great in some people's eyes. It's like when you're on a run like that, losing 6 out of 8, you're minus 190 on the road. I'm sorry, I don't care who's pitching. I think the values with the other team, and the Diamondbacks were plus 160. They were my pick, and they won handily. So I like to look for spots like that, because at the time the Giants weren't scoring any runs. It's like they couldn't. they could barely hit. And it seems like they're doing a little bit better since, but yeah, like I remember I thought that was a pretty easy play. It was a little bit against the grain, but yeah, if you're losing 6-8, you don't deserve to be a -190 favorite. I don't think. Um, but anyhow, but they could still make a run. At the end of the season here, there's a long way to go. They're definitely in the hunt. I think that the Phillies too. I'll give a plug for my home team. I have a futures bet for the Phillies to win the World Series, and they're hanging tough there in the wild card race. I think it's probably unlikely they'll win the division, but the Phillies, because I followed them for so long, and it's just like any fan can recognize patterns in their own team more than other teams. The Phillies are so weird because like they'll the bats will break out, they'll score a ton of runs, and then there'll be like a 4 or 5 game stretch. It's like they can barely score a run. Like what's going on? And then it's like they kind of sometimes you don't know what version of them you're going to get, but they have a solid pitching set. They have so many good pieces. Really, I think they should be. They're having a decent year, and they've been winning some games lately too without Bryce Harper. So I think there's value there. I think I got them to win the World Series at about 40-1 a few weeks ago. But I figure this: look, they have a lot of good pieces. If they can at least keep the ship afloat, they're right there in the wild card race. And then if they're coming in, with a little bit of momentum, then they get Bryce Harper back. He's supposed to come back, I believe, the end of September, mid-September, end of September, last I heard. So if they're playing pretty well, winning some games, and then they get Bryce Harper back, that's a team that could be coming into the playoffs with a full head of steam, and that's not the type of team you want to play. So I think the value was there at 40-1 for sure when I got it. I don't know what it is now. That was a few weeks ago. But in a lot of sports, that's what happens. It's the team that's coming in hot in the playoffs. I think of the 2011 St. Louis Cardinals. We'll go on a tangent real quick. I remember they needed the last 3 games of that year. They needed to win their last 3 games. They were playing the Braves, and the Phillies were really, really good at that time. That was actually the last year the Phillies made the playoffs in 2011. And I remember thinking the Phillies had already clinched their division. They clinched their playoff spot. And I'm sorry, the Phillies were playing the Braves. And if the Braves would have won just 1 game, they would have gotten into the playoffs and the Cardinals would have been out. That's what it was. And I remember thinking, like, maybe the Phillies should drop one of these games. They have nothing to gain. Like, I wouldn't risk letting the Cardinals in right now. They are hot. And guess what happened? Phillies won all 3. They beat the Braves all 3. Cardinals won out, and Cardinals ended up winning. They beat the Phillies in 5 games in the first round. They ended up winning the World Series that year. So that's a perfect example of a team that was that epic World Series where they were down to their last strike, I think, a couple times against the Rangers, and David Freese hit a couple home runs in that Game 6 to send it to Game 7. They ended up winning it all. That was a great season. That was a really cool year for them. But that's kind of the team. Not saying it definitely will happen, of course, but given where things are lining up, if the Phillies can keep their heads above water or better, then they get Bryce Harper back, and they could make some noise. So we'll see. I kind of like that as a futures play. I think there's value there too. Maybe again,
is that kind of a homer bet though?
Okay, yeah, definitely a little bit. But they have a good pitching staff. They're for like 10 years, well, actually longer than that. I can, Phillies fans can tell you better than anybody. Their bullpen's been terrible for so long, and they're definitely getting better. They've got some good pieces in the bullpen, and they've been pitching better. So, we'll see what happens. But I don't. It's funny you say it because I actually went against them with my pick last Saturday, and they won 10-0 against the Marlins. So I felt pretty stupid, but. But actually,
you ever go against them because they're the home team and you don't want to be biased? Is that?
Well, if I pick against them and they win, I guess it's a win-win for me, right? Then I get to see my team win. But if you want to go from that angle, but no, it's there's going to be spots obviously where it's the old adage, bet with your head, not with your heart. So there's sometimes you got to go against your team, and when the situation is right, but. Actually, I'll segue. That's another game tomorrow, Cubs at Phillies, that I wanted to bring up. I think this game seems a little trappy. Right now, I see the Phillies are -135 at home. I'm surprised that that line is where it is. Gibson's on the mound for the Phillies. He's having a pretty good year. He's doing pretty decent, but I, a couple people have told me this, and honestly, I didn't know a whole lot about Gibson before he came on the Phillies, but a few people have told me that they think he's overrated, and I think he's good. He's having a good season. I wouldn't say great, but Phillies have been hot. They just beat the Marlins. They swept their 3-game series against the Marlins, and I know listeners are probably like, well, it's the Marlins, but the Phillies have really struggled in Miami over the years. I think since 2020, the Marlins were 14-8 against the Phillies in Miami. So that's very respectable, especially considering the Marlins have been pretty bad for a little while. I think they made the playoffs in 2020, but overall, that's another team that, I think the public sentiment is that they're like perennial basement dwellers. So, and the Cubs have lost 9 of 10. They've looked terrible. They have not looked good. So why, with Gibson on the mound, I think the public perception is that he's, a quality pitcher or even better. I'm kind of surprised that the Phillies are only minus 135. I thought that line would be higher, especially at home, playing against a terrible team. If the public is all over the Phillies tomorrow, I will consider the Cubs. That seems way too easy to me. That's a quacky take right there. I was going against the grain because I would take the Cubs, if I was going to take it. Because but we'll see where the money's going tomorrow because that Phillies play, and I mean Phillies could still easily win, of course. But it just seems a little easy. I thought that would be maybe like minus 150, minus 160, and we'll see where it moves tomorrow. But
if you ask me, it should be dead even because I'm looking at the last 10 games as an away team for the Cubs and the last 10 games as a home team for the Phillies, and the Cubs are sitting at 5 wins, 5 losses, and the Phillies are sitting at 6 wins and 4 losses. So that's pretty even right there.
Well, I mean, that's one thing you could look at. I just think that the public sentiment right now on I mean, they won their last game before the All-Star break this past Sunday, but they had lost 9 in a row. They really haven't looked good. And I've taken them a couple times as my daily pick. A couple weeks ago, they're another team I would have said that I think they're a little bit better than their record indicates, but now I'm not going to say that now after this bad losing streak. So that's one I would keep on the radar because the Phillies seems way too easy. If the public is crushing them tomorrow, crushing the Phillies tomorrow, I'll look at the Cubs. So
yeah, that's really good value on the Cubs right there. Plus 116 over at FanDuel right now.
Yeah, another one that I'm looking at is Texas at Oakland tomorrow.
I wanted to ask you what you thought about the Rangers. I think Oakland. I'll say it. I think they're terrible, and that's just because I've lost money on Oakland. So I mean, I think they're dead last in their division.
Yeah, so. they might be dead last in the league, or they're close to.
Yeah, 32 wins and 62 losses.
They really haven't. They really are not having a good season at all.
Well, I will put my money on them in spots that I'm like, what? I just feel like, hey, they're going to get a win here, because everybody wins games, right?
Oh, of course. And to kind of piggyback on your point there, sometimes I've had a couple of my buddies say, it's like my friend I was telling you earlier, he's like, how do you pick like these bad teams and they win? Well, bad teams are going to win games, and it's not something I would recommend doing regularly, but you have to pick the spots where you, and this is just my opinion, I'm not any sort of genius or anything by any stretch of the imagination, but you have to pick the spots where you're getting the best value. It's like I'll kind of look at something. It's like, okay, like this, team A is really good and team B is really bad, but in a particular spot, this is just kind of a random arbitrary example, but you might see a badge is like, okay, like if they were to do it, this would be it. Now, that doesn't mean that they necessarily will win, but more often than not, if you can find those spots, where they have like the most value on. I think that example I gave with the Giants and the Diamondbacks there was probably a good example, because I remember that I in my pick I said, obviously anything can happen, but the value is here. I mean, I think as bad as the Giants were playing there, more often than not in that situation, the Diamondbacks are going to win. And at plus 160, that's a lot of value on your money. So so that does happen, and I like those spots too. Like I said, with bad teams, it's maybe this is a spot where they will do it. They still might not, but it's a good spot to get your money in, especially if they're a bigger dog.
They're at minus 104 on the money line right now, but the
Yeah,
Rangers are sitting at minus 112.
yeah.
So.
This is a really suspect line, and we'll see where it moves because Oakland is obviously terrible. I know the public sentiment on them is that they're one of the worst teams in the league, obviously.
Which makes me believe most of the money will be on the Rangers.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was about to say. I think.
I just.
Oh no, not at all. I took the words right out of my mouth. That's great. Fully expect. I'm actually thinking about Oakland tomorrow as things stand now, because I know. I mean, they were Texas was my pick today. They came through. They won handily 8-0 over the Marlins. Now they got to go all the way across the country, play a terrible Oakland team. They just played them a couple weeks ago. Took 2 out of 3 from them. And Texas has not looked. I mean, I took Texas. They blew a 5-1 lead to the Mariners, but like I was saying in my video today, I still like them because 2 of their last 3 series, Texas has played. I like them today. 2 of the last 3 series, Texas has played the Orioles and Mariners, the 2 hottest teams in baseball right now. So I did like them today, but why would especially after they won handily 8-0, I think the public, especially after seeing the game today, is going to be on them. And I think they'd be on them anyway, especially with a line like that. So we'll see where the money's going. I fully expect the public to be all over the Rangers, and if so, I might. This is a perfect example, I think, of what we were just talking about. If Oakland was to win, bad as they are, this would be it. This seems. I think there's a good chance that this is a spot where they could win. And the other thing is Texas has Spencer Howard pitching tomorrow, and he's done really well. He pitched against the Mariners recently, and he had a no decision, but he only gave up 2 earned runs in 5 innings, and that's a team. I mean, they're the hottest team in baseball right now. But Cole Irvin for the A's has been pitching pretty well too. He's had only given up 4 earned runs in his last 3 starts, and he only gave up. In those last 4 starts, 2 of them were in those last 3 starts rather, 2 of them were against the Houston Astros, and he only gave up 3 earned runs and 12 innings of work against them. That's something to build. And I like Oakland in the spot as things stand now, but until I see where the money's going, I'm going to hold off. But that's on my radar.
You've already made my mind up for me. I'm already Athletics in tomorrow. I've already clicked the box. It's ready to go. I want to ask you about. Well, go. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say. Hopefully, for anyone listening, hopefully I don't eat crow on that.
Hey, it's gambling, baby. You're not going to win all the time.
Oakland is this year. I don't think they're obviously not a sexy pick in pretty much any situation, but I kind of like them in this spot here. So we'll see what happens tomorrow.
I know I do, but that goes back to that whole any team can win games, no matter if you're terrible. If no matter what the public thinks, you're still professional players. You can go out there and win a game. What do you think about the Guardians and the White Sox? I know both those teams are doing pretty good in their division, respectably.
Yeah,
I figured the White Sox would be. Well, actually, they're both sitting at 46 wins, so I feel like the White Sox are a better team than the Guardians. But I guess they're about
both of these teams have been.
Well, I've won money off the Guardians several times, so they're a team that's come through for me. I believe they beat. I forget who it was they played, but they beat somebody like 11-1.
I was on that day too. They beat Kansas City 13-1.
That's right. Yeah, it was amazing. I was like, wow, and I think before that, a couple games before, they got destroyed.
That was nice to get an easy one like that.
Yeah, it is nice. But just the eye test, though, I really thought like the White Sox were a better team, but this record here surprises me. What do you think about these two teams?
Cleveland is a really interesting team. They have a decent record, but they're not. There's another team. I don't. They're not a sexy team to me. Sometimes they really, really struggle to score runs, and I've said that because actually when I took them on the money line that day that they beat the Royals 13-1, and then turned around the very next day and took the Royals against, it was the end of the 3-game series, and then I took the Royals plus 1.5 against Cleveland, and then the Royals won outright. And my reasoning was like, hey, like Cleveland, they hung 13 runs on them, but I mean, they were against Jonathan Heasley, who, no offense to him, but he can give up some runs for the Royals. And before that, I mean, the Cleveland was not really scoring much at all. Sometimes they really, really struggle. So, but then sometimes, you never know what you're going to get with them. And the White Sox too are another team. I'm not too well versed in them, admittedly, but from what I've seen, like they seem like another team. It's like you never know which version of them you're going to get. That's probably a game I'll stay away from. But it
Teams
sounds
like that scare me though, because they can go deep. If they get on a run, they can go deep.
Yeah, no, for sure. But it sounds like you like Cleveland tomorrow.
I feel like I do. I'm always looking for value. I really am. I really, if it's below minus 150, I really don't want to take it. And I'm not big on playing point spreads because, especially in baseball, maybe NFL, but baseball, yeah, I've not been able to lock that down. So I just try to play totals and money lines.
That's probably go ahead.
Well, it's just I just feel like it's like you said, the Guardians, they won that game and then turned around and lost. The Sox look like a better team to me, like just watching both teams play, but I don't know about this one.
Yeah, it's probably one I won't touch.
Yeah.
Because it could really go either way. The Guardians I stay away from mostly. I mean, I know I did take them once, like I said, but you never know which version you're going to get. Sometimes they score. I'd have who's pitching. Let me take a look.
The Guardians.
Montreal. Okay.
Yeah.
They've got they've got some good pitching. Bieber, though he's not. He's a name brand pitcher. It's not having the most stellar year. But I don't know enough about their pitching. Otherwise, I don't know enough about Montreal to make a decision. And really, for my money, I'm not. It's a team I stay away from just because they're so unpredictable. It's sometimes like they'll go through these stretches and like they're scoring 1 run, 2 runs, they're getting shut out. So I just don't trust their bats enough, to come through all the time. I mean, I think it was just like a week or so ago they got. I don't remember if it was a 3 or a 4 game series, but pretty sure they got swept by the Detroit Tigers, and it was like, wow. So
wow.
Yeah, so you don't know what version of them you're going to get. So usually when I have if I see a team that looks like that to me, I kind of wait until they show me something. They can prove something to me. I just like them in that spot because what's crazy for all for as much as I just said, like they don't score a lot of runs, or at least they haven't lately. They lead the league in team strikeout. They have struck out like they're number one. No team has struck out less.
The Guardians
than Cleveland. At least that was the case when I checked last week. Unless that changed, but after the second half of last week's games. But I don't think so. Either way, they're doing really well. So it's kind of interesting. They're putting the ball in play, obviously, more than any other team. But yeah, it just seems right until they can show me that they can really consistently put up like a decent amount of runs. I usually stay away from their games. So
yeah, they're sitting at the second spot in the American League Central.
But those are all the games I'm looking at on the slate.
So you like what did we cover? Did we cover the Dodgers and the Giants there, the late game?
Let me see here.
Starting at looks about 10 o'clock tomorrow night.
Hang on, maybe I need to update this too. Because I didn't see a line for that. You're talking about the Giants and Dodgers tomorrow, right?
Yeah. The Giants are setting at plus they're playing at Dodgers. Giants are plus 120. The Dodgers are minus 142. The total is 7.5.
Let's see here. I mean, the Dodgers. It's so hard to go against them.
Oh, it is.
This team is. I had mentioned earlier that game where I played or where I picked the Cardinals plus 1.5, and the Cardinals were up 6-0, and the Dodgers came back and won 7-6. I thought in that spot, that the Cardinals could could have won outright, and obviously they could have. They're up 6-0, but the reason I took the +1.5 because like the Dodgers, man, it's just, I mean, it's no secret. Everybody knows they're just have an incredible team. So
I think the Astros did that before the All-Star break as well. They were down 5-0 or something like. I know I watch a lot of games at once. I got a lot of bets going.
well,
I'm a degenerate.
right.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't have the memory you do. I'm watching you pull all this stuff out of thin air over here, all these numbers you got. I have no idea how you're doing that. It's very impressive.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, it's
But oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh no, I don't know how it's all it's I've got a steel trap with something, but it's not a perfect system. You know, it's the funny thing about when you tell somebody you have a good memory, when you forget something, they're like, "Oh, I thought your memory was good." It's like, oh, it's not.
It's
not
like gambling.
perfect, you know.
It's like gambling. You're gonna lose. You're gonna forget things. It happens.
Right, right.
So, so you don't have a pick for that game, or you just wouldn't
Yeah,
go against the Dodgers?
I don't have an opinion on that game. Those are two teams I don't. Well, the White Sox I don't know enough about, and the Guardians.
Oh, I'm sorry. I meant the Dodgers and the Giants.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Do you just not bet against the Dodgers? Is that how that works, or?
No, not necessarily. Actually, in fact, tonight I actually like the Giants. I think that game starts at 10 o'clock Eastern. I actually like the Giants tonight. You know, I think there's a chance that they could win that one.
Oh yeah, it's always a late start out in LA.
Yeah, but it's you know, I just
we're on the East
earlier
Coast,
just trashing the Giants just 10 or 15 minutes ago, saying how they can't score. But I kind of like them in this spot tonight. But so I mean, I guess you know the Giants and the Dodgers tomorrow until I see what happens tonight. You know, and I don't see the line here. I'm looking at Bovada. Maybe I'm just not looking in the right spot. But
you looking for tonight's line?
Oh no, for the game tomorrow, I meant I'd probably have to wait and see what happens tonight before I would make a decision on that. But I'll definitely take a look. But you know, right now on my radar for tomorrow, that Texas Oakland game is definitely on my radar. Cubs Phillies, and then you know, depending on, I mean, actually all three games, I want to see where the money's going. It's definitely going to have a large impact on my decision. And then Yankees Orioles is another one. You know, depending on where the money is going. But those are the three games that are on my radar the most tomorrow. But I wanted to, you know, here, you know, before we run out of time, I wanted to see we go over some football. What do you think about? I know you're from Tennessee. You're a Titans fan. Aren't you? Or you at least you're the hometown. That's your hometown team. What do you think they're going to do this year?
Well, hopefully more than we did last year. I'm not big on Tannehill. I'm not gonna lie. I think we need a quarterback. Game manager, I believe, is what he's referred to as by a lot of people. Game manager.
Yeah.
And that's something I hear everywhere. You know, it's not just, but you know, running game as you've seen in Indianapolis, the running game can't win it all. And Derrick Henry can only, you know, throw so many people off of him and run 99 yards per time. I mean, we've been living off that highlight for a while now,
right,
so that's about all we got. So I'm not expecting. I mean, probably maybe an 8-win year. I mean, if that, you know,
I have them somewhere in the neighborhood of 8 or 9 wins as well. Do you think do you like the Colts? Or I mean, obviously not. I mean, I think everyone can probably agree Houston and Jacksonville aren't going to be, you know, barring something close to miraculous.
We've only got about 5 minutes left, so I can't really get into that with the Colts. But yeah, I'm big on the Colts this year. I'm big on the Colts this year. I see you got a Rodgers. Is that a Rodgers jersey behind you there?
Yeah. I've been a lifelong Green Bay Packers fan.
The odds for them this year are pretty good. What do you liking Aaron's? I mean, I know he lost one of his weapons, but is it Alan Lazar? I won a lot of money on anytime touchdown Alan Lazard.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I just always thought that was Aaron's go-to guy. I know Adams they always talk about how great he was, and I know he, you know, pulls all that coverage over to him. But yeah, just I felt like anytime Aaron needed a sure touchdown, he could go Lazard, and I don't think they're going to be in trouble without Davante Adams.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of I'm kind of torn on it. I still think they're going to be very good. You know, obviously losing Davante Adams is a gigantic loss.
Oh, it is.
The other thing that I think, you know, and you know, this is a guy I really like was MVS, Marquez Valdez Scantling.
Yeah,
he was, you know, definitely not a household name type of receiver, but he really improved in the few years that he was there. And I really liked watching him. He was showing, making some big strides, really improving each year. He was a nice deep threat for Rodgers. And then he got signed by the Chiefs. I didn't like either. Because now I guess
they moved off Tyreek, didn't they?
Tyreek Hill went to Miami.
Yeah,
but so we've and I like Lazard. He's not a number one right now. Honestly, he's probably like a number three, maybe at best. But as things stand, but let's see what he does this year. He's going to be flung into a bigger role, of course, and they've added their last draft. They got a lot of nice defensive pieces. Their defense really, that's as a Packers fan, the defense has always been the greatest liability. When they won the Super Bowl in the 2010-2011 season, they had a great defense. But ever since then, even the following year in 2011, when they went 15-1, they were 15-1, and the defense had actually given up more yards than their offense had, and they were 15-1. So I mean that says a lot. I mean, probably says more about the offense, but their defense was terrible, and they went 15-1. They've always had a bad defense up until the last couple of years. But I really liked what I saw from the defense last year, and now they added some nice draft picks. Hopefully guys like Bakhtiari on the offensive line are going to come back healthy. Zadarius Smith on the defensive side of the ball. I think that they could have I think maybe people think they won't be as good as they have been in the last couple of years. And maybe I think they'll still win at least 11 games, barring like an injury to Rodgers or something like that. But if the defense continues to play well or even better than they did last year, if they're only giving up 14, 17 points a game, and you've got Aaron Rodgers, you might not need an elite receiver, but we'll see what happens.
I mean, he's the two-time MVP, right?
Yeah. So I still expect a good year out of them. And it's so interesting because as for most of, before that, obviously they had Brett Favre. So it's always, the Packers have always had, save for a few down years in the 25 years I've been watching them, 26 years or so. It's always been about a dynamic offense, and the defense. If they're mediocre, they could get by. So this is going to be a bit of a different look. I think they're going to be leaning on the defense a little more. I'm hoping that I think there's a lot of question marks at receiver for them, but we'll see what happens. I'm hoping some guys would step up, and maybe they don't need to go out there and be incredible. Maybe if they're scoring 20 to 24 points a game, that might do it this year, depending on how the defense is. So I still think they'll win that division, and hopefully go far. But they love to break my heart all the time. So we'll see what happens. But I have high expectations.
All right. Well, Tommy, I'm running out of time here, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show today and talking with me.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a great time, man.
We're definitely going to have you back on, man.
Awesome.
We'll be looking for those picks tomorrow to hit, hopefully. And if they don't, you know what? We'll just ride your picks the next day. Why not?
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can get some winners. But on TikTok at Quacky Takes with Tommy, at Quacky Takes on Twitter. I didn't have enough characters left, so it's just at Quacky Takes on Twitter. Check it out. I hope you enjoy the content, and hopefully we can get some winning picks as well.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Danny. Appreciate you, man.